Welcome to Streaming News Network by Claude McDaniel. News without the hype and biased reporting. Please like and subscribe.
This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Mexican authorities have arrested the mayor of the historic city of Cuautla, marking the latest step in a sweeping anti-corruption campaign launched by President Claudia Sheinbaum's administration. Security officials announced that Mayor Jesus Corona Damian was taken into custody on Saturday after an arrest warrant was issued earlier this month. Authorities say Corona had been evading arrest following the detention of several other senior officials in Morelos state. The government says the operation has now led to the arrest of more than 85 current and former public officials, including 7 sitting mayors. Officials allege that some of those arrested were involved in extortion schemes and had connections to organized crime groups. Corona has denied wrongdoing, but investigators have linked him to an ongoing extortion probe. Federal authorities also opened an investigation after video surfaced showing the mayor socializing with an alleged drug trafficker believed to have ties to the Sinaloa cartel. President Sheinbaum, who took office in 2024 on an anti-corruption platform, has emphasized that investigations are targeting officials from across the political spectrum. The crackdown comes as extortion continues to rise across Mexico, with business leaders warning that the crime has become one of the most damaging threats facing commerce and economic activity throughout the country. This is Streaming News Network. A 24-year-old man from Taiwan is facing multiple felony charges after authorities say he helped carry out an investment scam that cost an elderly Florida resident more than $320,000 in cash and gold. According to investigators in St. Johns County, Yue Su was arrested following a fraud investigation that began on May 20. Detectives allege the victim was lured into what appeared to be a legitimate investment opportunity through a communications app. Authorities say the victim initially invested $20,000 and later provided more than $75,000 in additional cash, believing the investment was generating substantial returns. Investigators say the victim had no idea the entire operation was a scam. The case escalated in May when Su allegedly traveled to the victim's home and accepted approximately $226,000 worth of gold bars and coins that the victim believed were needed to satisfy an outstanding obligation tied to the investment. Detectives later tracked Su to Miami-Dade County, where he was located and taken into custody. He was returned to St. Johns County and is currently being held on a $750,000 bond. Authorities say the investigation remains active and additional developments are possible. This is Streaming News Network. A Pennsylvania man is facing serious charges after authorities say he used heavy construction equipment to partially demolish his family home while his wife and 2 daughters were still inside. Police in Buffalo Township allege that 48-year-old Eric Pirwasa returned home intoxicated and became involved in an argument with his wife. According to investigators, the dispute escalated after his wife informed him that their marriage was over. Authorities say Pirwasa then allegedly threatened to tear down the house before climbing into a Kubota excavator parked on the property. Moments later, investigators claim he began ripping apart the rear section of the home with the heavy machinery. His wife and 2 daughters were reportedly inside the residence during the incident but were able to escape without injury. Officials say the damage was extensive, raising concerns about the structural stability of the home. Neighbors expressed shock over the incident, describing it as something they had never witnessed before. Pirwasa was taken into custody and is now facing charges related to the destruction of the property. Authorities continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident. This is Streaming News Network. Wrestling icon Ric Flair has revealed he is dealing with ongoing health challenges while also addressing a public dispute involving his son, David Flair. The 77-year-old Hall of Famer recently shared a series of social media posts expressing frustration over what he described as the unauthorized use of the famous Flair name and trademark. Although he initially did not identify the individual involved, Flair later confirmed he was referring to his 47-year-old son. In subsequent messages, Flair clarified that he had no intention of taking legal action against his son, but said he wanted him to establish his own identity and career independent of the Flair name. The wrestling legend also suggested that their relationship has been strained for years and voiced disappointment over ongoing family tensions. Over the weekend, Flair posted a photograph from outside a hospital and disclosed that he is currently dealing with significant health issues. He apologized for his recent public outbursts and said he plans to focus on his health and recovery. Flair's latest health concerns come nearly a decade after a life-threatening medical crisis in 2017, when he suffered multiple organ failure and spent time on life support before making a remarkable recovery. This is Streaming News Network. A major Carl's Jr. franchise operator in California is seeking to sell dozens of restaurant locations after filing for bankruptcy protection earlier this year. Franchisee Harshad Darid, who operates 59 Carl's Jr. restaurants across California, plans to close 10 locations and sell the remaining outlets. The proposed sale is being handled by a franchise brokerage firm that says it has already received interest from potential buyers. In bankruptcy filings, Darid cited rising operating expenses, including California's $20 per hour fast food minimum wage, along with what he described as insufficient support and innovation from the Carl's Jr. brand. Court documents indicate the restaurants generate more than $6 million in monthly revenue but have reportedly been losing more than $600,000 each month this year. Carl's Jr. and parent company CKE Restaurants say the financial difficulties are specific to this franchisee and do not affect the operations of other Carl's Jr. locations. Meanwhile, some employees have raised concerns about working conditions, claiming staffing shortages have increased workloads and created safety issues. Several workers have reportedly participated in walkouts in recent months to draw attention to those concerns. The sale process is expected to cover locations throughout both Southern and Northern California, with officials saying employee jobs are often retained when franchise ownership changes hands. This is Streaming News Network. The hockey world is mourning the loss of former National Hockey League star Dennis Hull, who has died at the age of 81. Hull, a five-time National Hockey League All-Star and the younger brother of legendary Chicago Blackhawks forward Bobby Hull, passed away Friday night. The announcement was made by the Chicago Blackhawks organization, which praised his contributions to both the franchise and the sport. Dennis Hull spent 13 of his 14 National Hockey League seasons with the Blackhawks, compiling an impressive career total of 303 goals and 351 assists for 654 points in 959 regular season games. He also added 67 points during 104 playoff appearances. Hull concluded his National Hockey League career with the Detroit Red Wings during the 1977 through 1978 season, helping the team reach the playoffs and end an 8-year postseason drought. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Hull was a member of Canada's historic 1972 Summit Series team, which rallied to defeat the Soviet Union in one of hockey's most memorable international competitions. Remembered for his scoring ability, toughness, leadership, and sense of humor, Dennis Hull leaves behind a lasting legacy in the game of hockey. This is Streaming News Network. New Jersey officials have imposed an emergency overnight curfew around a federal immigration detention center in Newark after protests escalated into violence over the weekend. Authorities say demonstrations outside the Delaney Hall immigration facility turned increasingly volatile Saturday night, with some individuals allegedly throwing objects, pulling down security barriers, and setting fires near the site. Police also reported multiple arrests, with some suspects allegedly found carrying weapons. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill, who had previously expressed support for peaceful demonstrators, condemned the violence early Sunday, saying the actions endangered both protesters and law enforcement officers. The governor suggested that outside agitators may have contributed to the unrest but emphasized that violent behavior would not be tolerated. In response to the growing security concerns, Newark Mayor Rose Baraka enacted a curfew covering a half-mile area surrounding the detention facility. The order prohibits civilian access to the zone between 9 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning until further notice. City officials say the curfew was necessary to protect public safety and prevent further disturbances as law enforcement continues to monitor the situation. This is Streaming News Network. A woman was fatally stabbed aboard Atlanta's rapid transit system Saturday afternoon in what transit officials are calling a senseless act of violence. Police responded shortly after noon to reports of a stabbing at the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority's Oakland City Station. When officers arrived, they found an adult woman suffering from stab wounds. Emergency responders attempted life-saving measures, but the victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities say a suspect was quickly taken into custody by transit police. The identities of both the victim and the suspect have not yet been released, and investigators have not announced potential charges. Several witnesses reportedly observed the attack, which occurred in broad daylight at the busy station located southwest of downtown Atlanta. The incident forced transit officials to temporarily suspend train service to and from Oakland City Station for several hours while investigators processed the scene. The deadly stabbing comes less than a week after another violent attack on the transit system, in which a passenger was reportedly stabbed multiple times at Georgia State Station. Officials say the investigation remains active as detectives work to determine what led to the fatal confrontation. This is Streaming News Network. Reality television personality Matt Brown, known for his appearances on the Discovery Channel series Alaskan Bush People, has died at the age of 43. Brown's death was confirmed by his brother, Bear Brown, who shared the news on social media. According to family statements, Brown died by suicide. Authorities had previously launched a search effort after concerns were raised about his whereabouts. Search teams reportedly used boats and dive personnel as part of the operation before Brown was found. In recent months, Brown had drawn concern from some viewers after posting troubling online videos. Family members have also spoken publicly in the past about his long-running struggles with addiction and personal challenges. Brown appeared in 79 episodes of Alaskan Bush People between 2014 and 2019. The reality series followed the Brown family as they lived in remote wilderness settings and became one of cable television's most recognizable unscripted programs. Friends, family members, and fans are remembering Brown for his years on the show and expressing condolences following the tragic loss. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of self-harm or suicide, help is available through the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline in the United States by calling or texting 988.
Thank you for listening to Streaming News Network videos and shorts. Please like and subscribe to our news channel.